So COVID-19, the biggest disruptor of the year, how has it kind of affected the way that you recruit? And do you look for different skills now compared to before?
Different skills. It's affected the way in which we recruit, because I think not having that in person, I think is really the in-person assessment has changed how we measure students. And what I mean by that is I've really tried to educate my assessors or interviewers on the real focus on potential when they're assessing, rather than, I think when we look at the two models, when we're thinking about, strengths-based interviewing and competency-based interviewing, really, for me, it's all around that potential, because they're not meeting that person actually in real life anymore, right? So they're not getting that initial feel of what that person is like, the energy that they bring. So it's all around the potential that you can hear, and what is interpreted on a telephone interview in, a WebEx style or a Zoom call. That's the kind of education I'm trying to give my business at the moment. So certainly I've tried to just make a bit of a shift, a cultural shift, and that has changed the way in which we assess. I would also add that in terms of, and then you could, correct me if I'm wrong on the question, but in terms of how we, or I suppose what we're looking for, what skill set we're looking for, that hasn't changed as much as what I would expect it to. I think the only thing that I would add that I'm hearing is that, and this is not so much to do with COVID, but it's more of a Brexit view that is kind of intertwining with COVID, is building out some of our regional offices. So that's looking at our offices in Dubai, in Paris, and in Frankfurt. So just to give you a view, looking at EMEA, broadly EMEA, I think what a lot of organisations are trying to do is just equip themselves for the potential hard Brexit that we may experience, and what that would mean in conjunction with also the economic potential, downturn that we're going to see, obviously post, COVID. So it's a bit of a COVID mishmash and Brexit kind of mishmash at the moment. That does mean that you may start to see more roles available in our Paris, Frankfurt, Dubai offices, which also, actually, I would say they're becoming lenient or more lenient on the language requirements. So if you don't speak, French or German, or, I mean, Dubai obviously is English mostly speaking, obviously you've got Arabic, etc., but, mostly speaking English. If you don't speak the native language, there is a lot more flexibility around that. So not to say you're interested in not working in London, obviously the goal is to work in the UK, of course, but
if
certainly
you want to travel, or if you're
exactly and get exposed. So it's more about being open to the possibility, once you've secured your role in London, what's next, and that's the vision I would say that our assessors are kind of looking for at the moment. Okay, you want to work in London, but what about in a year's time? Would you be interested in our Paris office? Would you be interested in Frankfurt? What does that mean? So I would certainly say the assessing or the assessment criteria is just slightly shifting post that Brexit COVID world, I would say.
Makes so much sense. It's interesting that kind of London was the probably most popular destination for graduates applying. Has it changed because of COVID-19? Is a candidate still really keen on London, or are they considering other regions?
They are. And I think that's where there may be a bit of a disconnect. And this is why I'm trying to probably inform any candidate that I come across in the market, is that because of the shift and, I suppose, the view that we want to start bulking out our regional offices, the desire is so strong for London. However, we don't want our candidates to miss out on experiences with us. So that's why, if there was a role that was to come up, or there was a need for flexibility, to be open, is what I'm trying to advise the candidates that I'm coming across. So certainly there's still that desire there from the students, but obviously from us, we're kind of going, okay, less hiring in London, a bit more hiring in region, or at least with the view to transfer our London hires into region at some point. So there's a lot of workforce planning we're also doing as part of that piece, but certainly the desire is very strong from our candidates that we're seeing. London is still the hub. I think it will remain that way for the next few years at least. Hopefully it will. Fingers crossed we'll start to bulk out our offices a bit more and find that balance whereby we can start bringing more back into London post-COVID.